Episode 49, and we've got Jaclyn. And you know what? What really excites me about this is that we all are brought up and we're shown love differently. And what we need to remember is that that then shows up in our relationships, doesn't it, Jaclyn? And I think that's where you come in, of actually understanding why we are the way we are and why we pick the people that we do to be in relationships with.
Yes, that's exactly what I do. So many people are just worried about why the guys are showing up in their life right now. But really, it starts with the relationships when you're a child. So yes, we go straight there, we go straight to the root, and that's where it starts.
Yeah, so for example, like anxious attachment style. So I think when I was younger, I had quite an anxious attachment style, which then leads you to lean in more to want to, I suppose, you want to be chosen. You want
Hmm.
to be, you become a bit desperate, don't you? Like, actually,
Hmm.
I need this validation externally from this person. So
Hmm.
I suppose, where do you come into all that?
Well, first of all, I know this is going to be so wild, but I actually don't believe in labels.
Oh, really?
Only because I know this is crazy, but I just don't because I had an anxious attachment style for a long time. And I used to be like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm just anxious attachment. And then, what is an avoidant? And what is, and then I realized I could just heal myself. I could just heal the fact that I'm not anxious anymore. And I could just know who I was and remove the root cause and just be secure. And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times when we label ourselves, and that's not just in labels of relationships, but labels in health as well, when we're labeled
Mhm.
something, it becomes who we are. And when it becomes who we are, it's really hard to let go of it. So I work on a deep subconscious level, and I studied RTT, rapid transformational therapy, under the incredible Marissa Peer, which I'm sure everyone in the UK knows. She's the most amazing therapist in the world. And I remember going through her program, through her course, and she's just said, what follows I am follows you. It becomes who you are. And I was like, wow, I don't want to be that person. If I am anxious attachment, that is who I am. It's like I own that and I don't want to own it
Yeah.
anymore.
That's so true, isn't it? And I think it comes down to what you put out there and your thoughts are what you become,
Mm,
which is
yes.
absolutely sounds so easy, doesn't it? But when you've got a deeply rooted,
Yes.
it's so easy. But when you've been brought up, I suppose, to believe that you've got to chase love, that you aren't
Mm,
love, and this, and this, it's
yes.
hard to step away from that and not believe that you are that. Do you know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Like, so for example, I understand that, yeah, I aren't an attachment. I, it, deep down, I aren't an anxious attachment, but I am, because that's what
Mm-hmm.
my life has portrayed me. My upbringing's brought me to
Of course.
believe that I had to do. I mean, I'm not like that as much now, but like
Mm-hmm.
years ago, I thought I had to chase love. I thought I needed that validation. So we don't need to have the label, but sometimes we still are
Yes.
the
We need to
label.
understand. Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And the reason why it doesn't it's really hard to break and not know, like, I am this person is because you're logically thinking about it. A lot of the women that I work with are beautiful, kind, loving, successful. And all their friends say, I can't believe you're still single. I can't believe it. I don't understand.
Mm.
And you were like, I didn't understand while I was single. I didn't understand while I was attracting these
Yeah.
play narcissistic behaviors. I'm like, I didn't know either. It was driving me bonkers.
Mm.
And it's because you're logically thinking about it. But the thing is, it doesn't happen logically. It's not, it's in the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is that hidden belief system that is controlling 95% of your reality. So logically, yeah, you're a catch, but subconsciously, you didn't receive the love that you needed as a child. You didn't have a safe upbringing. You didn't have consistent love, or whatever's happened in your childhood. You've created those beliefs, and those beliefs, excuse me, start by the time you're 12. Sorry, yeah, they're formed by the time you're 12. So you can be in the womb. I've had a client in a session and I'm like, where are you? She's like, it's dark. I'm in the womb. I can hear my dad saying, I don't want this baby. So you can be in the womb. How are you meant to remember when you're 30 attracting men that are narcissistic or
Mm.
players, hot and cold behavior, accepting breadcrumbs? When you realize that you didn't have someone, when you overheard your own father saying that he
Mm.
wasn't ready, he didn't want this baby. And when you're in the womb, your highest sense is hearing. You can hear everything. So
Absolutely.
your subconscious mind is just running in the background and it's just letting everything in. And its primary job is to keep you safe. So if it hears something like that, that's significant. Okay. It's holding on to
Massive.
that. Okay. It's holding on to that belief, saying
Mm.
that, and then what that baby realizes in that moment is if my dad, it's not safe, the world's not safe because my dad doesn't want me. And if you don't feel safe and you don't have those primary needs as a child, like you were mentioning before, you create these patterns later in life because they're run by those subconscious beliefs created by the time you're 12. And that's why logically, so many women, including myself, tried everything and trying to logically figure it out. And a dating
Mm.
strategy is not going to work. Dating more men's not going to work. Fixing how I look's not going to work. Losing 5 pounds is not going to work. It's not that. It's deeper. It's safety. And if you can't make love safe
Yeah.
within your subconscious, then it's going to repel everything because its primary job is to keep you safe and it's running 95% of your reality. So what we
It's,
do is we need to create that safety first and then reparent and that inner child to know that it's now like healthy love is familiar.
do you know what? It's so, so powerful, isn't it? It really is
Yeah.
everything that I'm about and everything that I suppose I've had to do. I I'm still doing, I suppose, is reparenting that inner child, getting
Mm-hmm.
to the root cause of the decisions I make in my life, the relationships that I find myself in. And I suppose I've had to lean into dating more to come into them triggers, to understand actually when I like somebody, I struggle. And then when I lean into that, I can then sit down with myself and say, well, why are you feeling that? And it always, always, always comes back
Mm-hmm.
to childhood. And I think
Yes.
we need to
Yeah.
understand is
Yeah.
as people that a lot of the decisions, most of the decisions we're making as adults come from childhood. And
Yes.
it's going back to that root cause all the time. And I think you're right. If we don't heal that root cause, we're just going to continue the same patterns. And that's why, like, on my journey, I have had to I feel like I've had to reparent myself. I've had
Mm.
to, and I still every day have to nurture that inner child of
Mhm.
understanding, right, Sarah, you are worthy of this life, you are worthy of love. But it's not easy. It's not easy when your brain's been wired a different way than you want it to be.
Mhm.
And I work with children in care and I work with a young girl, and you can sort of see it, you know, in her, you know, it's such a young age where it's heading for her. And I think, you know, we need people to understand, like, let's go back to the root. Let's go back. And I know it's
Mhm.
painful and I know it hurts because it does, doesn't it? Doing that work of it hurts.
It does if you're doing in depending on which way you do it.
Right.
So the therapy that I use, like RTT, we're able to get to the root cause in 90 minutes and you
Oh,
don't have to read
really?
it. Yeah.
Sounds
Yes.
ideal.
It changed my life because I feel like yeah, because we use her fantastic modality. It uses a bunch of different modalities in one, including hypnotherapy that gets straight into the root cause, NLP, cognitive behavior technique,
Mm.
neuroscience. And we're able to really understand. A lot of women that I work with only need one session, but there are some women that need two or three, depending on the layers there are.
Yeah.
But we're able to get to, yeah, majority of the women I work with need 1 or 2 sessions. So it
So
really depends. Yeah.
yeah, so if I came to you and I was saying, I'm in my late 30s. I mean, this isn't me, but let's go with this. I'm in my
Mm-hmm.
late 30s. I am attracting men who are just emotionally unavailable, they're not treating me right, and the same men keep appearing.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do, and what would you say to me, and how would you help me, I suppose? Just so people who are listening can get a feel for if they're in the same boat, because I'm assuming, a lot of people attract these men and they don't understand why they're
Yes.
attracting them.
Yes, exactly. So first of all, I do an intake with them to really understand their triggers and symptoms, the types of men that are showing up. And then I go straight into your childhood is the second question I ask. And then I also ask them, how their parents treated them, but also how their parents treated each other. Any significant events. What's really crazy to think that there is a lot of girls that get teased at school, and that comes up a lot. So I always ask that question.
Oh,
And also,
really?
yes, that comes up a lot. And if they didn't have a lot of friends at school that were rejected in their friendship groups, feel rejection later in life with men. I've seen that quite a lot. And also I've had where, there might be some tomboys,
Mm,
girls that the guy always saw them as a friend and they were never the chosen one. That comes up a lot too. So there's the school. I always ask around the schooling dynamic, not just at home, because
mm,
you can have a wonderful home,
yeah.
have beautiful parents, and I've seen this many times before. It doesn't actually have to be huge trauma, although I've seen all facets, and that
Mm,
that makes my role so fascinating and beautiful. But it can be just a swiping comment from a mother
absolutely.
or a father that really causes, we call them imprints, that
Mm,
causes you to imprint this into your subconscious and being like, okay, if I make bad decisions in love, then I just must always make bad decisions in love.
mm,
Little sweeping comments like that, I have really transformed some incredible women's lives in just a simple reframe of that. And your subconscious knows. So your subconscious is like a filing system. We'll get to that in a moment, sidebar. So yeah, I really try and understand that part, and also the parents' dynamics, the siblings as well, because there can also be some different dynamics within that. And then that
mm,
gives me some really good ideas about kind of what is going on. Um, then I then talk about what they want. And the reason why we do this is because when we're in a cycle, and I know this very well, I was in a cycle for 15 years. I'm very much my own client. Um, and
I like
we
that though. I think you come from a level of compassion when you've been in it yourself. I think you need
yes,
that sometimes, and people relate to you
yes,
so much more easily if you can say, well, actually, I've been there and I've got the
yes.
t-shirt.
Yes, and yeah, and because sometimes we can be so focused about how men aren't showing up for us and being like, why are these guys always showing up? I'm always attracted to players. I used to say to my friends, I go into a room, I go to a party, beeline. The guy that I like is always the player. And the thing is, when we're focusing on that we get more of that, because what we focus on expands. So there's the manifestation component coming through, as well as the RTT. So I mix all of this together is the secret sauce of what I do. So it's like, okay, well, what is it that you want? Because let's start focusing on that. Because you can have anything you want. And like, oh, okay. So we talk about everything they want. And then I put it in the I am present tense. This is happening right now. And what we do is we create a really powerful transformational personal recording for this person, anchoring in them into that ideal life of what they want. So we can start to retrain their mind into
Mhm.
focusing on what they want, not
Yeah.
what they don't. So once we do that, I create this script, and then we have the session, the 90-minute session, and then we remove the root cause of what's holding them back. And usually you feel quite light, amazing. Wow. Oh my gosh. Or like I knew that there was some things like that, but I didn't remember that. Or wow, like you come from like a freeing moment, like I'm
Mhm.
free, which is quite beautiful. And then you listen to the recording for 28 days because your mind learns from repetition. So it takes 10 to 21 days for neural pathways to shift and change. So you might find some resistance going, but then you just keep pushing through until it makes sense and it feels real. And then I take them on the manifestation journey, because so many, and give them the tools to build a healthy relationship, communications, and helping them through that, navigate the dating side. So it's kind of like the full success path, because I think a lot of women come to me, they've tried everything. Usually they come to me when they've tried a lot of things, and they are trying to manifest, but they haven't shifted their belief systems at a deeper level. So I don't worry about the manifestation component and the dating and the what's on your dating profile, because it doesn't matter what's on there right now. What matters is let's make love safe first, and we start there. And that's how I get such rapid, quick results. I've had women manifest love in 3 weeks after 22 years of unhealthy relationships, from controlling, abusive relationships.
You know
Not
what,
everyone's
Sam?
going to manifest in 3 weeks. Some take a year.
Yeah,
I've had phenomenal rapid results because of that, because so many miss that component of we have to make love safe in your body and your subconscious first, or else none of that even matters.
makes me quite emotional. That does. That's that word, that phrase of make love safe.
Yes.
And it's so powerful, isn't it? And I think
Yes.
anybody
That's
listening
good
who,
sense.
yeah, it's like we don't
Mm.
realize, do we, that if we don't make love safe within ourselves,
Mm.
we've got to love ourselves fully and make love safe. We're never going to attract safe love. And honestly, I remember feeling that love wasn't safe. And
Mm.
it's only over the past 2 years of my life transforming and taking the leap into the unknown, if I've had to do that work of trying to I've done it without the 90 minutes. I've like sat in the
You've
depths of
sat in
it.
the depths of despair. Yeah.
Yeah, and it does feel like that, because you're
Yes.
almost like, so so let's talk about the subconscious mind and
Mm-hmm.
explain to people what that is and how,
Mm-hmm.
because for me it's like making new neural pathways. So
Mm-hmm.
what were already there from a child, and now I've got to trample on them and remove them. And how long does that take, as opposed to keep, well, we know for you, quite with your what you do is quite quick. So
Mm-hmm.
the subconscious mind, let's talk about that, because I think it's so
Mm-hmm.
important that we understand what the subconscious mind is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the subconscious is emotion based, and it's the feeling that you've created in that moment of, and its primary job is to keep you safe. And the reason why it wants to keep you, so because it keeps you safe, it loves what is familiar. Okay. So what happens is that if you've sort of been brought up in a house where family are fighting, parents fight, that's familiar to you. I'm trying to give an example so it makes sense to everyone.
Yeah, it
So
does make
also,
sense.
yeah, so subconsciously you're like, oh, okay, so mum and dad fight about stuff and then they make up and then they fight again, they make up. That's normal to me. So if that's familiar, that can also breed more familiar when you're trying to date later in life, right? Because it's familiar. You didn't die today witnessing that. So let's just keep doing the same thing. So
Mm.
what we want to do is because it loves what is familiar, and even though it's not healthy. So that's what I try to explain to everyone. You don't, this is why this line is so powerful. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest who you are being. And that line is so powerful because it's driven by your subconscious and safety. It does not care if it's healthy or unhealthy. It's just trying to keep you alive. So when you understand that it doesn't care whether you want a healthy relationship, it's like, well, I want to stay the same because this is familiar to me. So what we want to do as part of this transformational journey is to unlock and tell the subconscious that that's not what I want. this is what I want, and it's safe. Healthy love is safe, and that's what I want now. So it's really retraining that subconscious mind to let go of that safety
Mm.
that's unhealthy and retrain it.
I
And
suppose I suppose you can understand why people who've experienced, I suppose, significant trauma, or they've been brought up in domestic abuse, or they've been, sexually abused, and all these things, you can understand why it stays with them, and that they stay where it's safe. And honestly, I understand it so much, because when I'm trying now, I suppose, so when I do my podcast, my
Mhm,
my subconscious is going, no, you're not safe outside of what you've known for
mm,
39 years. And it's so hard to keep pushing outside of that, because every time I push outside of what my subconscious believes, like alarm bells go off, like you need to get back in that box, because this isn't
mm,
what's kept you safe. And it's
mm,
so difficult. It's so, because you feel almost quite, I suppose, when you go against your subconscious, quite vulnerable, because
mm,
your body's going, well, off you go, but you're not safe. And then my mind's going, well, I'm going to fall on the floor, or what the hell am I doing? And it's so hard not to revert back to that subconscious belief. But here I am on a Zoom to you in Australia, ignoring my subconscious beliefs that I can't do it, and I need to get back in that box. And I think so many of us live by what our subconscious tells us.
Well, yeah, 6 years ago, before I healed, I would never have had my own podcast or even been able to public speak at all,
Really.
because I had the exact same fear. I felt very unsafe in love. And
Mhm.
I'll share my story. It may or may not resonate, but I'm very
Yeah,
similar.
absolutely.
My story was, I didn't know what was really blocking me. I knew my parents didn't really open up emotionally, and I knew I really struggled with that. Like, to me to actually share my feelings, I'm like, blah, I couldn't do it. So I knew that was an issue. Like, consciously, I was like, well, no wonder I'm hopeless. Didn't really share love. It was done in different ways, but not verbally. But there was when I had my session, my RTC session, it changed my life. Um, I knew of this moment, but I hadn't actually tied it together. And that's what a lot of women are like, oh, I knew that, but I didn't know that it was the same. And then if I knew that's what's caused it, I didn't know how to break free from it. That's what's happened kind of to me. And I had this big epiphany in the moment. So when I was about 8, I walked home from the corner shop and by myself, and I was asked into a car by an older man. And I remember it vividly, and I still remember him moving his newspapers off from the seat and putting them down and opening the door, and I just ran. And I ran for dear life. And I went home and I just started shaking. My whole body was shaking, like I was having a traumatic experience.
Mm.
And that shaking, I actually didn't even tie this together. When I would public speak, my hands would shake. I couldn't
Mhm.
actually speak because I had an out of, like, my body. It was stuck. That emotion was stuck in my
Yeah,
body of not being safe. When I would go on a date with a guy that I did not know, guess what would happen?
the same. Yeah.
Shake. To the point, I remember my friend set me up with this guy, so good looking. And I was like, oh my gosh, freaking out anyway, going, oh my God, probably should have done a walking date. No, he wanted to go to the pub. And I
Oh
was like,
no, I much
yeah,
prefer a walking date. I aren't you?
walking date. I need to
It's so
walk out the
awkward.
energy.
Yeah,
It's so,
yeah.
and I remember he got me a champagne. I'll never forget this. I'm laughing about it now, but I was horrified because I can't control my body. I can't control the safety of my body. I got it, and my hand was shaking so much I couldn't even cheers it, and champagne was spilling out. I was
Oh
shaking that
really?
much because I did not know him. So whenever I'd go on a date, but I never tied them together. I never tied together the fact that I had been asked into a car. I didn't feel safe on my own. So me being alone, always wanted a guy. That's why I was needy, because being alone was not safe. Because if you're
Yeah.
alone, guys come and try and get you into their car and take you away.
Mm.
But I actually never really joined them together. People would just say I'm needy. Well, I have every right to be needy of my experience,
Absolutely.
right? And so does every other woman I see who come in and work with me. You have every right to feel that way because of the experiences that you had, but you do not let that define you. You can heal, right? And then I remember just after that having just so many realizations that that's why I was anxious, that's why I was needy, that's why, because I didn't feel safe on my own. And once I healed that part, I was able to public speak. I had healthy relationships from then on, and I could speak and communicate clearly. And that's why I do what I do now, because it's amazing to free that safety
Mm.
from you, from that. And it's not that it wasn't really my parents or friends, it was that incident that was the
That one
root cause.
incident. So,
Yeah.
how did you come across what was the lady called the therapy? Go and write it down.
So it's rapid transformational therapy. So Marissa Peer, she is from the UK.
So
She is,
how did you come across that then? So I suppose you get to a point where you're like, something's got to change. We all get to I
yeah.
think, well, we all get to that moment, I suppose, of like, actually, I'm in this cycle I can't get out of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dating these men. I think I've done a bit of healing, so I'll go back out dating. Again, the same cycle keeps happening, and we
Mm-hmm.
get to a point where we're like, something has to give. And
Yes.
I take it you had that moment.
I was at that moment. I had, yeah, I was on my knees going, what is wrong? I literally
Yeah.
had left a narcissistic relationship. I literally was on my knees going, what is wrong? Like, I'm beautiful, I'm kind, I'm loving, I'm successful. What is wrong with me?
Mm.
Give me guidance. And I'm quite spiritual. I've been manifesting for many years. I could manifest many things but love. And that is my client as well. It's funny how we always attract ourselves as well when you're in business. It's funny.
Yeah.
Because they were like, I can manifest everything that. Yeah. And I just remember I was guided because I remember following this lady, Gemma. And she was in manifesting. I was listening to a podcast and I really resonated with her. And I didn't really know the therapy that she used or modality at all. I just really resonated with her stories. And I remember reaching out to her when I was, when about my business initially, not about love, about business. And then she told me about what she did. And I was like, oh, I need to heal my love. And then
Right
that's
now,
how
right now, just heal me.
right now I'm like, this is the missing piece. And
Yeah.
and as soon as I had that session, because I hadn't had a modality in my business yet, I was just coaching women. And I was like, I'm meant to do this. And then I signed up to study it. Literally, like a month later, I signed up and then we went into lockdown and I studied it in lockdown. Yeah. So I've been doing that for 4 years, 4 years now. So I was just guided to it. I feel like when you ask for guidance, you do receive. I'm quite spiritual in that way. And I just was guided to
Yeah.
her in a way. Yeah.
Can we talk about being guided? Like, the more I suppose I've healed and sat with myself, and people, used to say to me years ago, I suppose, about being guided, and I'd look at them like they'd gone bonkers. But now, honestly, there's so much truth in it, and they're
Yeah.
like the more I honestly feel so guided in everything that I'm doing. I think there's an art in just letting go, isn't there, and trusting.
Yes, and that's always a hard part. That's probably one of the hardest parts for me. And a lot of women and men manifesting is the letting go and surrendering component and trusting because we're
Mhm.
so used to seeing something, then we believe it. But when you really get into it, we're manifesting every minute of every day. Why? Everyone has their own reality. Why do I get parks all the time and maybe you don't? Is because I just assume they're there. Or when you think about a friend, you're like, oh, I haven't thought of that. Oh, my friend, I haven't spoken to her for ages. Oh, God, I love her chats. Like, oh, I've got to message her. And then what does she do? She messages you the next day. Like,
Mm.
if you think about other things, like not just manifestation, but your everyday life of how things pop up, um, even when I lose something, I'm like, angels, can you please show me where I found this and bring it into 3D? And then I find it like literally minutes, hour
Really?
later. Yeah,
So what
because
sort of things have you what sort of things have you manifested? Because I suppose I'm on the beginning of my manifesting journey, and like really things have happened and I'm like, oh, oh. And then like it's really like it's quite scary at times because it's quite new to me. And but so for you, what sort of things have you manifested, and how I suppose does it transform your life?
Well, even just like my European holiday, I remember just manifesting, yeah, this amazing holiday. I knew I didn't want to work in this job anymore. And I was like, I don't want to work here anymore. My and my mum, my dad had passed away. So I knew that I always went on a holiday every year after that. And I knew I hated my job. And I was like, I don't want to be in this job anymore. I really want to go on a holiday. I really want to go on this European trip. And then as soon as I kind of said, I want to go on this European trip, everything just started happening. Like my friend's like, oh, I'm going to Spain and I'm going to Morocco. I'm like, okay, I'm coming. And then my friend's like, I'm in Italy. You gotta come to my house. I'm like, okay. Like just weird stuff would happen. And then everything would just start lining up. And I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then I remember even just going to book my flights there. And I was like, I'm going to get the best flights today. This is my holiday. Everything's working out. I'm going to get the best flights. I just assumed it's going to happen. And that's what was going to do, what was going to happen. I went in there and then I ended up getting the last seat of these cheap flights. And I was like, yep, thank you. Everything was just lining up. I was just getting thank you. I was just getting, yep, more, more. Thank
So
you.
I suppose it's like people like it's like how so if you're at the beginning of your manifesting journey, like where do you start? You
Well, I
know,
think
who
you just, yeah, great question. I'm just trying to think because I've been doing it for 15 years now. I think the
oh, I
first thing
mean,
I did,
it's a long
it's
like
been such a
me.
long time. I'm just trying to go back. The very first thing I did, if I think back way back when, because I used to be such a realist. I used to be like, oh, you get what you're given, life just happens to you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I started to be positive. So I was quite negative and a realist. And I just started to be positive. I just started to say, hey, what if it does work out? What if I can have like, start talking positive about myself and about what's possible. That was the
Mm,
very first step. Without getting too woo-woo, I just became more positive
yeah.
in especially how I talked to myself and what was possible.
Mm,
Um, that I'm enough, that I'm worthy, that I'm enough is just so powerful in itself.
mm,
And just being kinder to myself in not putting myself down, creating a better self-concept of myself. Because we manifest our self-concept, but that's later. I didn't even aware of that. I just became more positive and just
mm,
about myself. And then things started to shift. Lots of positive little things started to happen. Like I remember finding a really cool flatmate to this apartment in this perfect suburb that I wanted. Because I just said, like, I'm going to find the perfect place with a really amazing flatmate and we're going to get along and we're going to be someone because I'd moved interstate and I didn't have a lot of friends and I'm like she's going to be my friend. I'm going to be able to go out with her. And I just put that out there and then I ended up finding her. Like we just connected. Weirdly, she actually was about to take her listing off the shared website the next day.
mm.
And we ended up connecting. And then you start to get evidence, right? That it's starting to work. Like you're starting to get evidence
Yeah.
now. And you're like, okay, so that evidence, just keep banking it. All right. And then start small, like even to be like free coffee, a car park, little things I would do.
Yeah.
And I'd get
So
free
actually,
coffee.
you say that because I was listening to a book or reading a book, and it said start small. So anyway, they said to
Mhm.
say when you're going to the car park, Morrison's, say we're going to the supermarket, just pinpoint the space that's going to be free and it's going to
Mm.
be there for you when. So the other day, I went to our local town and there's only 5 spots which are free, and I just needed to nip. And I said to myself, that space will be free. The space was
Well,
free, and it might sound bonkers, but it's never normally free because everybody wants the free spaces for the free 30 minutes. But for me, then I was like, oh, oh dear,
Yeah.
it's happening.
See?
And I was like, I was listening to Joe Dispenza last night. Do you
Yeah,
listen
love
to Joe
him.
Dispenza? So
We love
I
him.
listen to him
Yeah.
every night while I'm going to sleep.
Mm.
And he said, he was talking about there's so many different versions of you who exist already
Yeah.
in the quantum, whatever it
Oh,
is.
yeah. Going
And
technical. I love it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm trying, like, it was a bit
I
like,
love it.
sort of,
Love it.
and it's almost like all you've got to do is act and feel that way.
Yes. Yeah.
So
And
you
yeah, believe the shit.
and once you start to act and feel that way of that version of yourself that's already there, doors will open to become that. Is that right? Does that sound like
Yes.
quite
Yes. I explain it a little bit differently. I
go
love
on
Joe
then?
Dispenza's way, but I just explain it to the women in my world is there's, yeah, there's, if you want love, for example, or whatever you want, there is already a version of you that has that. But right now you're focusing on what you don't have and the men not coming. So your perception and your thoughts and your assumptions and your felt experience of that is I'm annoyed, frustrated, stuck, attracting players, and I'm over it. So what are you going to get? That experience. Okay. So what he's saying, okay, well, if we shift your perception, what would it be if you were that woman in love with that guy in your life right now?
Yeah. How
Let's
would you
be
act?
that woman.
Yeah.
How would you act? What would you think? What would you believe? And how would you feel in the felt experience of that? Now, there's one thing I don't like to focus on because so many women come to me and are focusing on this, and it's the reason they're not manifesting, is they're focusing on feeling good. And I know a lot of people talk about this. You need to feel the felt experience. If I was in a relationship, I would feel good. But what is the feeling of the felt feeling? You would feel chosen, adored, enough, safe. And when we say just feel good, a lot of people are going to do self-care, but that's not changing your subconscious beliefs. Okay. It's important to incorporate that. You know, there's lots of different
Absolutely.
principles, but people are just focusing on feeling good and going for a walk and going to the spa and but that's not changing your circumstances. What changes your circumstances is your beliefs, assumptions, thoughts, and felt experience of you being that person. You can't go for a run for an hour and feel good and think that your life will change. It's not. And a lot of women come to me going, I'm trying to stay high vibe, but I'm like, yeah, but you're pretending. It's not
Yeah. It's not deep. And I
not
get
deep
that
enough.
because I know when I'm just pretending to high vibe and like I have to come back into myself and say, you need to do some more work. You're not feeling yourself. I know now when I just need to go, right, okay, let's go back inwards a little bit. Like something's not feeling quite right. And it's that self-awareness, I suppose, isn't it? Of
Mhm.
like, it's okay to pretend that you're high vibe and you've got, this and this, but it's it's different when you feel it, like, and I think it oozes out of you when you feel empowered and you feel that love, like you just hold yourself differently, you walk around differently. And if you'd said to me 2 years ago when I left my 16-year relationship with my two children and I started again from scratch, would I be this woman today? No, but it's been a lot of work, but there's always been that, actually, the belief that actually there is different that out there for me. There's a different world, and that's why I suppose the podcast comes about, is that in your hardest times, and it's been rough, that there's always different for yourself. And I can almost feel now, honestly, especially after this discussion today, is this life's around me, and I am stepping into it because it's what I deserve, it's what I want.
Mhm.
And every day I wake up and I have to reset. So every morning I wake up like a bit like low, a bit anxious, and I'm like, say to myself, who are you going to show up as today? and I have to reset, because if I want that different life, I've got to feel that way. I've got to ooze it. I've got to like be that woman. It doesn't come bloody easy.
Yeah, especially when it's been a long time, right? It's undoing those things, undoing those patterns.
Mm.
But yeah, you can shift them. You just have to keep going. You just got to keep moving in the right direction because it will start to feel normal when you keep
So
doing it.
if somebody wanted to book on with you, obviously I will share it on our Instagram, on the 4 o'clock club, with a link. So if anybody wanted to book on with you, is it through your Instagram?
Yes, on my Instagram page at A Manifesting Life,
Yeah.
or everything's on my website,
Mm.
www.manifestinglife.co. You'll find everything there as well. But yeah, most people find me on Instagram.
So what I think is, to round this up, is there are so many women who are going through the same cycle, dating the same men,
Hmm.
really stuck. And I think the powerful thing in this is you've got to go back to the root cause to change things for yourself.
Yeah, and just going back to the childhood and addressing it from the root, and it means that it's lasting change as well.
Yeah,
You're not just feeling good for a moment.
it's a lifetime change.
Yeah, and it's the subconscious work, it's the deeper work, whether it's with me or another modality, it's the deeper subconscious work that needs
I'm so
shifting.
here for the deep work. And
Yeah.
because I always ask myself, who am I beyond everything that happened to me? Am I beyond what does love feel like beyond what I've been told it is? And I
Mm.
think honestly, I need your therapy in my life. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of people who will benefit from your therapy. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's And you know what? This is the first international podcast. Like, little did I know, 15 months down the line from starting the 4 o'clock club, would I be sitting here with somebody from Australia? I think it's incredible. Like, maybe my manifesting's working.
See. Just keep putting it
Yes.
out there. Next. Hey, remember, I don't know if you know Gabby Bernstein. She used to have Oprah on her vision board and she ended up going to Oprah. Put it on
Do you know
there.
what? I honestly, I think once you understand that there's no limits to what you can achieve, it's only yourself holding you back.
Only yourself. Everything starts with you. That's
I'm
another
like,
quote.
I'll be on a plane to Australia in no time. Yeah,
I'd
so
love
I'll
to have.
round this up. So thank you very much for coming on. We've got an episode out now, so in the next few days this will go out. It's really exciting. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. 2 seconds. Now this is where it gets all